Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. Recently, Donald Trump signed an executive order making immigration enforcement a little more aggressive than it was in the past administration. And one of the gentlemen that has to enforce that policy is here with us. John Tsoukaris is the Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations at the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Field Office in Newark, New Jersey. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to talk about the executive order and what the new policy is compared to what the old policy was. What's changed?
Thank you, Larry, for having me
Sure.
on today. Basically, with the executive order that the president signed last January, it basically just tells or directs ICE to go back to enforcing the existing immigration law that as passed by Congress, where in previous administrations we were focusing solely on the high-level criminals and excluding people that were here illegally without crimes. So now it's back to still prioritizing the high-level criminals, gang members, national security and public safety threats. However, if we encounter other individuals as part of those operations that are here illegally, we do take enforcement action against those individuals.
So just to be clear of what you're saying, you say that because it wasn't covered that way in most of the media, and so I want to make sure that that's correct, that you're saying that when President Trump signed this executive order, what he was basically just saying is enforce the law as written.
Correct. We're still prioritizing the criminal aliens, public safety threat, gang members, national security type cases. However, we're also enforcing the immigration law on everyone that's here illegally, not just a certain class of individuals.
Well, that's a bit of an indictment against the last administration because you're saying that their edict was to not enforce the law.
Every administration that comes in, we get our direction basically from the White House. Every administration that comes into the United States, they have their own priorities. So the prior administration was more focused solely on people with serious criminal convictions. Other individuals could have been arrested, but it was a small amount because we had to focus only on those. But
let's take that down to ground level where you operate. So you come across a violent criminal. Do you, by the way, do you have a database of people in the state that you are looking for?
We do our own investigations, and we have different sources that we find criminal aliens. We also work with the immigration courts. We work with all our other field offices. For example, I'll give you an example on this. Anybody that gets arrested in the United States, their fingerprints go to the FBI. They also go to Department of Homeland Security. So anybody that's been encountered before by DHS, that individual's information will come to the field office, and then it'll be vetted to see if this person is a deportable individual. Okay,
so one of those people come to you, and you go out to pick them up, either from custody, from a prison, or out. You would go out into their neighborhood as well, right?
Correct.
And then you come across other people that were here illegally. Tell me how you treat both of those people.
So there's different operations that we do. The first is going out into the street or to the residence or the employment and identifying the individual, taking that individual into custody. Now, all these operations are targeted. It's not random operations that sometimes you hear being reported. All our operations in the field are targeted against specific individuals that we know are there. Secondly, we cover the jails, people that are in jail serving sentences or got arrested for a crime. If they're foreign born, and we interview them and determine if they're deportable from the United States based on the immigration law. And then we place a detainer with those institutions, so when the person is ready to be released from their custody, that ICE is notified to pick up that individual and initiate removal proceedings.
But under President Trump's executive order, so you would go into a business and you'd find somebody that you specifically want and you specifically targeted, but you encounter some other people who are here illegally. I understand that you start deportation against the person who is could be a violent criminal. Everybody else, how do you deal with them?
We first, when we encounter our target, we'll take that person into custody. For officer safety reasons, we're going to be checking the individuals around that person or in that house, for example, to determine who these people are. That's standard for any police department to check who is in the surrounding area or the surrounding apartment, for example, for officer safety. Now, if we encounter those people that are here illegally, generally we'll arrest them, take them back into our office, process them, and then make a determination if they'll be released on their own recognizance, issued a bond where they could pay and then go to court, or if they'll be detained based on their background. So every case is different. It depends on the circumstances. We often encounter individuals with the target that's a criminal, for example. We encounter others that are also convicted of crimes that are here illegally, that were not on our radar before. We also encounter people that were deported and came back illegally, or they've been ordered deported and never left.
So there's a lot of classifications, and you treat them all differently depending on...
Each one gets treated differently. There's also humanitarian concerns. A lot of times what you don't hear on the news is we release many people that we take into custody because of prosecutorial discretion, due to humanitarian. For example, an individual who has kids at school and there's no one to pick them up. So we use our discretion widely on a daily basis.
Yeah, your department has been demonized, and it's been demonized because politics has infected this debate, and that's why we have these so-called sanctuary cities, and there's many sanctuary cities in this state. As a matter of fact, the mayor of Newark, where your field office is, said ICE officers these days, and we're trying to protect our citizens from the ICE officers because they're like the people that used to try to catch the runaway slaves. That's what he compared your office to. What does he have wrong?
Well, there's a couple of points on individuals that use politics for their own agenda. Number one, all our operations are targeted, so we know who we're going after. Number two, people or politicians that say they're sanctuary cities, et cetera, we're following the immigration law of the United States as passed by Congress. So it's not something that's illegal, it's not something that's out of ordinary. We're following the law that our officers were sworn to enforce as Congress passed the law. In terms of sanctuary cities, we go into sanctuary cities or cities labeled as sanctuary every day. That doesn't stop ICE. We're in the federal arena. We arrest targeted individuals every day. The other thing is that I hear a lot is that they're not protecting their citizens if they say that we can't go in, or they have this rhetoric that ICE is not allowed to go into the city, because when we go into that city, we're going to encounter the target, but we also may encounter others. So more people end up getting arrested. The third thing I want to mention is this whole idea about people are afraid to call the police. That's not true at all, because we don't arrest victims of crime. If you're a real victim of crime, domestic violence, et cetera, if you call the police, ICE is not going to come and arrest you. We have the discretion, and we don't do that. So contrary to what gets reported.
So you firmly believe what you do in these cities, including the sanctuary cities, makes those neighborhoods safer?
Definitely. And then we have one jail in particular in the state that's not cooperating pretty much at all with ICE, releasing every criminal into the community. So I'm not sure how releasing a criminal into the community makes that community safer.
And we're out of time, so I have to ask one just quick question. Under the executive order, have the number of arrests and deportations in the state gone up or down?
We're a little bit higher than last year. Our criminal number is a little bit percentage-wise higher. It's not a huge difference, but it is a little bit higher.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming in. John Tsoukaris is Director of Enforcement and Removal Operations at the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Field Office in Newark, New Jersey. Jersey Matters continues right after this. Still to come on Jersey Matters, would you love to run for political office, but you just don't have the resources? We may have an answer for you next.